Meet John Smith. He was 23 years old and a recent college graduate with a degree in philosophy. His parents instilled in him a love for his country, which motivated him to join the Army after graduation. Several years into his military career, John was deployed overseas to fight for his country. During a battle, John was fighting valiantly, but a missile exploded right beside him. He was severely injured from the blast, but somehow survived. During John's time in service, he received environmental sensory stimuli from the praise given by his commanding officer and the sounds from the battlefield. John's volition system included his personal causation, his values, and his interests. His personal causation was his understanding that he had the ability to be a good soldier. His values included patriotism and civic duty, and his interests were any forms of physical activity, especially running. John's habituation system included his roles and habits. He was a soldier, a son, and a comrade. His habits consisted of serving his country day in and day out. John's performance capacity system had the physical and mental components that helped or impeded his abilities to perform occupations. He was in peak physical condition from his time as a cross-country runner in college. His mental status was also in great condition from school, being physically active and hanging out with his friends. The dimensions of doing are the progression from skills to independent occupational participation. John's skills were military training exercises such as firing a weapon, while at basic training, John learned the activities and tasks of being a good soldier in a controlled environment. His occupational participation reached its peak while he was overseas at war. He performed his duty as a soldier competently and without the need for assistance. John was pretty banged up after his accident, and his doctor made the call to amputate one of his legs. The busy hospital and noises from the machines were raising his stress levels and causing anxiety attacks. The doctors realized that John might be suffering from PTSD as well. All of John's problems became too much to bear and he developed depression. Since John was not provided with a proper assistive device, he fell often, causing his self-esteem and self-worth to rapidly wash away. He combined mental and physical health problems began to disrupt his life, causing him to turn to alcohol as a coping mechanism. After his accident, John received environmental sensory stimuli from hearing bad news from the doctor and loud noises from the hospital. He didn't believe that he could participate in daily life. His values involved his social support from his family and friends. His only interest was the desire to return to running. He lost his other interests due to his depression and PTSD. John's role still included being a son, however, he was no longer a soldier but a veteran. Unfortunately, his habits shifted to darker occupations such as drinking alone and isolating himself. John's performance capacity was severely limited due to his physical and mental trauma. His life was negatively affected and he needed to relearn the skills and occupations required for participating in everyday life. Today, John meets with his new occupational therapist every week. They work together to form an environment that has helped John cope with his PTSD in healthy ways both at home and in public. The therapist teaches John how to use his new prosthetic and works with him to build his balance and confidence and self-esteem. Since John has started occupational therapy, he receives environmental stimuli through positive reinforcement from his occupational therapist, including praise, encouragement, and understanding. John's personal causation is believing he can run with this prosthetic device after multiple therapy sessions. His values being a member in society again and continues to improve his fitness levels. John's interests include running and socializing with his friends and family. His habituation system includes having the roles of a son, civilian, and veteran. John's habits include attending his weekly occupational therapy sessions where he continues to work on his running techniques at local nature trails. John's performance capacity has improved because he is coping with his PTSD in healthy ways that have significantly decreased his depressive symptoms. He has quickly improved his physical performance with the use of his prosthetic device, allowing him to move around on his own. His new skill is to move freely with his prosthetic device. John can now walk on the treadmill and around the therapy gym with a prosthetic device much more fluidly during each therapy session. Finally, John is able to run freely outside with his prosthetic device independently. He is now able to reintegrate himself into his previous activities and once again has purpose through running. John is able to get back to the life he lived before he was injured during his military service. Go, Johnny, go!